I want to speak to shadow work because my experience is hopefully it's not always about shadow work.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Like, I think as far as consciousness goes and living consciously and self-awareness and traumas and triggers, and there's so many programs and information out there to help support us in working through those. And I'm so, I think that's amazing because that's what we need. And it doesn't always have to be shadow work. And you like that?
Yes.
We get to move on like at a certain amount of shadow work, like there's always going to maybe be minor shadows, but at a certain point, it just becomes just fun in the next level of consciousness, which is a fun game to me. What's the next level of consciousness? How much more aware can I be? What if I reset the intention for a relationship? What's that next one going to look like? It's like a game. And so constantly adjusting the parameters or the rules or like the triggers on the game. If I push like ABC together, it does this. But if I change the rules when I push ABC together, it does this. So it's this constant like game of curiosity of consciousness. And it becomes, for me, and this is my hope for everyone, is that it becomes fun.
Hey there, beautiful souls. It's your girl, Allie, and we are back at it again for another episode of Living Life Consciously. We have a very special guest lined up for you today, and I am stoked to get started. So without further ado, Justin, say hey.
Hey there, Cosmic Thrill Seekers. I'm Justin. This is Living Life Consciously, where we explore the extraordinary, ride the waves of inspiration, and embark on an adventure of limitless curiosity together. Leslie?
Hello, I'm your co-host, Leslie, also known as Light Being Love, an eternal spiritual being having a temporary human experience. And we are very happy to have with us today, Caschelle. Caschelle, would you like to say hi?
Hello, as you heard, I'm Caschelle. Hi, Allie and Justin and Leslie's audience.
Hello. Thank you so much. And for our audience, we welcome the luminous Caschelle, a channel, psychic, intuitive, Reiki Master, and movement teacher who has spent more than a decade guiding others through deep energetic transformation. Her work is a powerful blend of the mystical and the grounded, bridging the seen and unseen to offer messages, healing, and clarity with soul and precision. Through channeling, oracle readings, and energy work, Caschelle creates space for people to access their own truth, align with their inner knowing, and reclaim their personal power. Her background in yoga and nervous system-informed embodiment practices brings a deep sense of presence to every session, making her guidance feel both activating and deeply comforting. Caschelle is passionate about honoring the unique rhythm of each person's path, and today she's here to share her wisdom on how to live with more consciousness, clarity, and connection. Get ready to go deep into energetic alignment, sovereign communication, and what it really means to tune into your soul's truth. Caschelle, thank you so much for being with us today. I appreciate your time.
Thank you for having me. That was the best introduction I've ever had.
Love when people say that. It makes my day, dude.
Yeah, it's so amazing.
Amazing. So for our audience, just so you guys know, we met Caschelle at Alice and Holly's True Creators Summer Camp. We had an amazing time. Caschelle did all kinds of cool things that I want to talk about today. So where would you like to start? Should we start with how camp started and talk about sovereign communication?
Sure.
Okay, cool. Tell the audience what sovereign communication is, please, and thank you.
Sovereign communication is a pretty vast topic that continues to unravel and integrate the more and more we practice it. Hopefully, growth is never done, right? So sovereign communication is also never like a program you learn and then you're done. You keep applying it, you keep learning. It's a specific way or specific techniques of communicating that allow, if not put a real spotlight on, self-awareness, what our traumas are, what our triggers are, what our habits are, what our programs are, bringing deep awareness to ourselves and therefore how we interact with other people, where we need to heal, where our boundaries need to be, who we are, and therefore how we interact with everything external to us changes when we start implementing sovereign communication.
Can you give our audience an example of that so they like can put it into some sort of, grip that they can utilize?
Yes, I'm gonna just give it all away here with the mother tool of sovereign communication. You guys know this already is I statements. It seems very obvious, but just changing one word, because there's this huge gap from does it go from if I just communicate differently that I become a different person. There's this gap in what people perceive communication versus like self-awareness to be. Well, if I can only say I and I can never say you, the sentence changes. I have to literally reconstruct the sentence. You made me feel angry becomes I feel angry because. What I heard was, and it made me feel angry. Why? So do you see it's a completely different conversation when you just change one word. The whole sentence reconstructs, and all of a sudden now I have to figure out why I feel angry rather than blaming you for making me feel angry. It is a radical amount of self-accountability, which doesn't really seem that fun. What happens, though, when we're really responsible and accountable and self-aware is that we're also really free and empowered. So that part is fun.
It is fun. Yeah.
And we're regulated. We're not constantly triggered by things that we don't even know exist within us. We're regulated, and that's also fun.
Right.
I feel like it's something that like it seems to be a little bit intimidating / scary at first, but then like once you put it into practice and start using it, I feel like A, it becomes easier, and B, the benefits become evident very quickly. Because like we all started using it at camp. Like, hey, okay, so I'll give an example myself. Rather than going up to Justin and Leslie and being like, hey, I want to go do this, this, and this now, so come with me. That sounds kind of like a demand or a command or like instructions, right? But with sovereign communication, instead, it's like, hey, Justin and Leslie, are you guys available to join me on this adventure? It's more like a like giving them the power to decide what's good in that or for them in that moment, rather than me just trying to tell them what to do and, something like that.
Yeah, it's kind of like being in your own sovereignty, and it's offering the same to others,
Yep.
Yes.
That. Because we're in a constant power exchange to be seen, to be heard, to get our needs met. And the other side of that is people pleasing, obligation, guilt. It's almost like a constant program of power struggle. And so when we're sovereign, we give other people the permission they never needed to also be sovereign. And people are like, oh, I can truly say no to this, and you're not going to be mad at me. You're not going to abandon me if I say no to this right now. That's powerful. And when I have done one-on-one coaching with people and we do a small shift, reframe that, use this sentence. What about consent, responsibility? When I help people unravel very specific situations, every time they go, oh, that's so different. I can't believe I was doing that. I can't believe this is what I was taught. I can't believe how I feel differently about this situation or person or my parenting now, just with this seemingly small tweak. It's life-changing work. It's legacy-changing work, because as you said, we are giving people the permission they never needed, and that includes our children. That includes kids at the grocery store and park. You should see kids' eyes light up when I treat them sovereignly, just like in the grocery store or something. They get it, and they're like, whoa.
Can you give us an example? Can you give us an example of that so like our audience can like envision what you're talking about? I love examples. I'm sorry. I'm not
an example with my kids or with
I want an example,
great.
so I can
in the grocery store.
Any example.
Yeah. Oh, okay. The main one is, this isn't a weird thing I would do in a grocery store, but let's just take like a family barbecue with my little nieces and nephews, right? When 2-year-old, 3-year-olds, when I ask them, can I hug you? And they get all weird and awkward. And then I go, oh, that's a no. And then I leave them alone. They come to me every time at some point, right? Because they go, wow, they don't know. They're not cognitively having these thoughts, but all of a sudden I'm a safe person who like honored their body and their no and their sovereignty. And again, they're not capable of having that cognitive thought, but subconsciously that's what's happening for them. And then they come to me, they want to play with me. They want to learn more. Oh, like this is an interesting person. This is something I haven't maybe experienced before. So when I honor specifically with toddlers, their availability to be touched or not, they look at me like, what just happened. I watch their face like kind of have to figure out for a second, but then they also light up and come to me, and I'm the person they want to play with later.
That's a really
it's like they feel respected subconsciously, and that's what they're feeling. Yeah, and it's a great thing to teach. Yeah, it's important that kids are learning this because, yes, we are constantly repeating the same programs, and it's part of the healing the world as far as I see it.
Yeah, I also had a thought was I'm reflecting on you saying that the kids are taken aback by you asking them if they can have a hug, because in most situations, parents just tell their kids like, oh, go give Auntie Susan a hug, hello. But if Auntie Susan gives you the EBGBs, why should you be forced to go give Auntie Susan a hug, hello? You know what I mean? And it's like,
to touch her.
Right. I mean, it would teach the kid like to the idea of like giving people permission to do something with their body rather than it just happening to them and then they're like a victim to it. And then also like, I'm thinking of gentle parenting where it's the same thing, where it's like, if someone goes to give a little kid a hug, they'll be like, well, I'm not ready for you to hug me right now. Or, they just say something like declarative in their own sovereignty. And I was just like, wow, holy crap. Like if a little kid can do that, like imagine the power that they're going to grow up with as an adult in the confidence realm.
Right.
Yes. In the people-pleasing realm, in the guilt realm. Not only are they taken aback because they likely haven't been asked that before, but number two, even if they have been asked and they say no, that no's not been respected. Have you ever seen adults go like, I'm going to cry, you're going to make me cry, that hurt grandma's feelings, And now we're them to say yes based on guilt. And we're not talking about evil people here, right? We're not talking about, there's nothing evil or intentionally bad going on here, but micro moment after micro moment after micro moment. And now we've become adults who allow touch out of guilt and people pleasing. That's a big problem.
That's a slippery slope.
Yeah.
Very. Not just touch. We allow lots of things because that's the program we've been taught in these small, seemingly innocent moments, because maybe the adult knows that Auntie Susan is safe, but the kid doesn't feel it. Now we're gaslighting their intuition on top of that.
Wow.
Yeah. They're saying like, I don't feel safe and you're telling me I am. I guess I must trust you instead of me. And I'll go throughout life trusting everybody but me then.
Wow.
My mind you just blew my mind.
The way we gaslight kids blows my mind too.
I mean, we are programmed like that growing up, and it's like, because we are programmed like this growing up, then it's like a lot of people then in turn program their own children the same way, because they parent however they were raised.
Like by default. Yeah.
So it's wow. So this could literally break the cycle of
I know from experience, like I have a lot of, deep programming and I'm working through. It's an everyday thing, but I find, I'm still catch myself, but that's the awesome thing about living life consciously, or at least trying to do that is to be aware and catch yourself in those. But it's really hard to break down those programs and the default reactions and all that kind of stuff.
Right.
Everything.
Yeah, the default programming is definitely
and the language
code to crack.
The language is another big thing to not point at others.
What's that?
I'm glad you tied this to consciousness, because if I learn to trust my intuition as a toddler, aren't I inherently a more conscious being? If someone goes, no, your awareness is right, listen to that more. I trust your awareness and you should too. Isn't that bring more awareness online? Like, it is consciousness. I hadn't really tied it to that word, but self-awareness, I suppose, is consciousness, right? So I love that you tied to that. And 1,000,000%, this is absolutely the breaking of cycles.
Wow.
Hopefully we're at some point not raising kids who need to unravel all these programs.
Yeah, for real. Do you mind if I give an example from like our interactions? Is that cool?
Okay.
Because I'm thinking like, I love this example from the toddler version, but I would also like to give an example from the adult version. So like, I'll be When I'm working on a video editing or something, like I can literally be in front of this computer for like 10 straight hours almost. Like I just get in the zone, and I'm the type of person, I'm so freaking hard-headed. I don't want to start a project and then leave it for later. If I start it, I'm finishing it. So like sometimes 10, 12 hours later, that'll happen. But like for the example that I'm thinking of is like he'll come in the room when I'm like mid thought process and my brain is going a mile a minute. I got so many things happening at one time. There's like 10,000 thought streams happening, and he'll want to come in and ask me a question. And I don't want to like break my flow of my mental thought process, and
Okay.
B, I don't want to like turn around and give him a snotty answer because I'm now irritated that my thought process is being broken unwillingly, right? So like the idea of him coming in and saying, hey, Allie, are you available for me to show you this thing on my phone that I want to show you? And then I can respectively say no. And I don't have to feel bad about saying no because I'm respecting myself and my own mental process, and I'm respecting him to give him the time that he deserves of me not being in a shitty mood about having to give him time.
It's that.
Yeah.
I like how you mentioned it going both ways, because it's not just that you're honoring yourself and you're saying no. It's that he recognizes, I'm assuming, ideally in sovereignty, that he would prefer to have your full presence. Mm-hmm. And you're saying, I don't have it to give right now. And he's like, cool, I'd rather have it later than half now.
Literally. Yeah. That's the point I was trying to make. Yeah. Exactly.
Yep. I love that.
Yay. Glad I brought it up.
Good example, baby.
Thank you. All right, let's switch gears a tiny bit and let's talk about your intuitive and your channeling stuff. Okay, so when did you first realize that you had intuitive or channeling abilities? Was there a moment that like changed everything?
Okay, two separate questions is what I'm hearing. One, When did I realize I had intuitive abilities? In retrospect, as a child, even, there were weird voices that told me, not weird, I don't hear voices, it's claircognizance more, but grab this change, do this thing, call this person, like pick up this shoe, right? And then you trip over it later, break your ankle because you didn't listen, like just weird stuff. And it's micro stuff, and sometimes it's not a big deal, but I wouldn't, weirdly enough, I would not grab the change. And then later I would need it and I would go, oh, I didn't grab it. And so I kind of learned through not trusting myself and getting really sick of that to start to trust myself. A moment that changed everything was kind of twofold. I had been living semi-off grid and I moved to a property where they talked a lot about channeling. And I decided, I don't really know that I had heard of it in those terms, even though I had been doing it unknowingly. I was like, I'm going to learn to do this. This is everything. I want to be the most psychic person in the whole world. This is everything that I want. And then I met Allison, and then I saw on her website that she had a channeling course. And I was like, I don't care how much this costs. I'm doing this. Like, this is it. And that was a choice point, right? Or the choice point to move to that property. And then to say, I'm going to learn this. This is everything. And then to see a class and go, I don't care what it costs. I'm doing this. So it's a couple different choice points along the way. Does that answer the question?
Yeah, it does.
So then, like, when you're channeling, who or what do you think you're tuning into?
I get this question a lot. It actually took me a little while to figure out, and sometimes maybe question my confidence in channeling. And what I have heard or come to the conclusion of is two main things. One, I'm channeling people's higher selves when I'm doing one-on-one with them, or I'm channeling my higher self. And two, I am channeling just pulling information from higher frequencies and putting it into like human verbal form, if that makes sense. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. It's literally just information that's out there at different frequencies, and how do we apply that on this earth realm?
Awesome.
And the higher up in frequency you go, pulling information from, the more abstract the information gets, right? So I would actually be pretty comfortable saying that I probably channel from I don't want to say low frequency. I would never say that. And it's very applicable. When I channel for people, it's very practical and applicable so that they can leave and go apply something. It's not so, the abstract information is so beautiful. And sometimes it's hard to apply. And when you go from 10D, 9D, blah, 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 all the way down to 4D, it's like, oh, that's not how I thought that would look. It distorts, it distorts, it distorts, it distorts, and then it comes into the physical finally. And so that was a long answer to say people's higher selves, and I'm pulling information from higher frequencies and putting it into understandable verbal form. Now, when I'm channeling for myself, and this happens more and more and more, really within when I lived with my grandpa. Can I go on about this story?
Yeah,
go right ahead.
Yeah.
Okay. I had moved in with my grandpa for the winter to take care of him, and I didn't have any space to channel. I really didn't feel capable of it. I would go into it, and then he would need something, and I would just get irritated. So I just didn't do it. What happened? You want to talk about like a life-changing moment. I started having much more channeling come through from a fully conscious, open eyes space for myself.
Okay.
Yeah, not for other people. Not that I could necessarily do that for other people, although I have in moments, but not as a generality. For myself, I was starting to receive very clear information while I'm like making eggs, right? I used to go on runs for clarity, for nervous system regulation as a coping mechanism. And I went on a run like a month ago, and the information that I was receiving in a fully waking state was so clear. And so I want to say it was like God frequency. Like some people talk about like female God and male God, or masculine and feminine. I don't claim to know how it all works, right? I don't think any of us know. And I was receiving very clear information from like a much higher frequency of masculine and feminine. And they were so clear. They're even going, the feminine was going, nope, that's not my realm. You need to talk to him. And then I turn and I go, okay, let's talk about this then. Let's talk about structure. Let's talk about money. And then I go, I'm starved for connection. Let's talk about that. And she's like, cool, let's, And so that conscious channeling for myself, that's been interesting. That was a long story to say interesting.
No, these long-winded answers are what we're looking for. We like when people dive deep.
I was going to ask you, what's like one of the most, were there any channeling messages that really impacted you? Right. That's what I was going to ask you right before you said that. So it was almost like you knew the question ahead of time.
There's that psychic stuff.
Let me listen first. Okay, my first answer is they all impact me equally, whether they're big or small, because I'm not in the business of not listening. Yeah. If I'm told it, I'm doing it. Whether it's I don't know why this shoe example keeps coming up, whether it's like retie your shoe or whether it's like move to Florida and sell everything and move to Florida. I'm following my entire life is based on that guidance, big and small. So it would be really hard for me, I feel like, to pinpoint one more or less impactful message than the other, because they're all everything to me. I'm not trusting myself. Maybe I'm trusting my higher self, but I'm not going to trust my own logic over that.
Yeah. Okay, maybe I should rephrase the question. Has there been any messages that have come through that have really been impactful for somebody else, and they have told you how impactful that was after the fact?
Ooh, love the reframe. Cool. We get two good answers.
Yeah. I also came up with an answer for myself too.
Oh, good.
But I got to remember it. Okay, I'm going to take a second.
Sure.
Because I already forgot the one for myself. What was it? Oh, geez. It was in relation to relationships. Okay, I'll come back to it if you remind me of it. Okay. It was awful. Other people. I think I'm going to say, and this is kind of a generality again, timelines. When I channel timelines for other people, and this is specifically what we might call the psychic realm, because if we can channel from any, lots of different realms, timelines can change. Choice points can change a timeline at any given point. I happen to be pretty good at channeling timelines for people. So if they know in 4 months, if they know in 3 months, if they know in 6 months, having feedback that those timelines are really accurate for people is like really rewarding to me. And I think it's impactful for them because it settles a lot of worry and confusion and internal chaos of like what, when, how, right? I'm going to say the how too, because I channel people's higher selves and I'm able to channel really practical, applicable information for them. Some of the most impactful feedback I get is like, when I did it, things changed completely, right? So it's not like, it's not that it's just such gosh, I can't think of a very specific example. It's okay. Just, so I'm just going to say timelines, and when they actually apply what comes through and they go, whoa, that changed everything, always in some unexpected way that neither of us saw. Let me think for just a second if there's a specific example.
Sure.
Okay.
It's just clarity. The most impactful thing that my channeling brings for people that I hear from them is clarity.
That's
right?
a good thing to have. People are searching for that.
Yeah, and it doesn't necessarily change what's happening externally to us, but it helps us understand it. And so we don't have as much dysregulation, stress, worry, how, when, and where, sort of compacted on top of life is sometimes hard. And now we're spinning out about why, how, when, where. And so just unraveling all that for people so that they can see sort of how it's all connected and why and how. And they go, oh, I get this now. This kind of makes sense. Something that I've really been struggling with that made no sense. Now the dots have been connected. So at least it makes sense. It's still not fun. It's still hard, but it makes sense. So I'm not.
And there's acceptance. Like,
yep. Yeah. It's a level of acceptance. That's a good way of putting it.
You're going to say something about relationships. Did you want to finish that thought?
Yes, you guys.
Okay.
Okay. I had started several years ago relationshiping for the purpose of growth. I am going to get vulnerable and let people close enough to me, because intimate relationship has a way of doing that I'm gonna let them push my buttons so that I know what the buttons are. I don't know what this was years ago. I don't know what the buttons are. So I need someone to push them so that I can know what they are, because I'm done repeating this, right? I'm done with the repetition of what doesn't work. And so what happened was, with that level of consciousness or intention, that's what I got. I got relationships that were triggering. And I got into a really long relationship that was equally triggering and healing. And I think letting go when it's time is a big part of relationshiping, and not and keeping it in the healing zone and not in the trauma zone is like knowing when the contract's up, right? Knowing when the work's been done and we need to call it.
I think that's called conscious uncoupling. I think there's the term name is called conscious uncoupling, when you just realize your contract with somebody's done, and that's okay.
I like that term.
Thank you. I didn't make it up. Somebody else taught it to me.
And we're like, attachment, hang on to it. So this 4-year relationship it was a very heavy learning experience. It was healing, yes. And I got out of that and I was like, I don't want a relationship like that anymore. I don't want a relationship to learn. I'm going to learn inherently, right? I want a relationship for like love and connection. I don't want to do it for that reason anymore, but I see why that happened, because I set that intention and then forgot about it, like set it and forget it. And so I go, well, I don't know what the other way is, though. If I'm not doing it for learning and growth, what am I doing it for? And because I think that's my only purpose on this whole earth is evolution or ascension. And so I channeled about it. I'm getting to the point here. I'm landing the plane. And I saw the most horrific thing I've ever seen in my whole life. And it was that, I know, I shouldn't say horrific. It was shocking, because I was like, well, what is the new way? And I was shown where we're at right now on Earth. There is no other way. We are literally only ever relationshiping to have a need met. To have connection is a need. And that's okay. And if I'm looking at like oneness consciousness, there's no unmet need. There's no such thing as unmet need. There's no such thing as separation. There's really no such thing as even relationshiping, because there's no separate thing to relationship with. And so to see how, as it comes down into lower consciousness earth levels, that we always will be until we reach a certain frequency, which may not even be in my lifetime, that we're always and only relationshiping, hopefully not out of trauma, at worst out of trauma, at best out of needs. And I was like, that's the most awful information I ever saw. It was,
yeah, it
was just so alarming.
I was thinking about just relationships, and our, purpose here on earth. But I mean, yes, we are all one and we come from, one source, fractaled out. But I get it's kind of part of the experience here is to be in relationships. Literally everything that we, not only people, but, plants, animals, like everything. There's relationship happening, but it's also like a mirror for us to evolve, like the whole thing is learning and growing and evolving. And that just had a way far off thought on that. I don't even know how to end it and wrap it up. Sorry.
I think that's the tweak to it. If I'm like, I don't want a relationship for learning anymore. Like, this is a little masochistic. I don't want to do it anymore. I've learned enough. So, and then I saw, well, you can't relationship for not learning. There's no other way. This is what the human realm is. This is what it's always going to be until we reach those levels of oneness. So I think, Leslie, you brought up, that's the tweak of it. What do I want to learn? I was learning triggers, right? I was learning about my triggers and traumas. And so the shift was like, okay, this wasn't such a horrible thing to see. I just need to be conscious and self-aware enough to reset the framework of what do I want to learn. Now I want to learn deep levels of love, deep levels of connection, deep levels of intimacy, but there's never not learning in it. And I was like, oh.
Those darn soul contracts.
I know. Yeah. So setting the for what do you want to learn within relationship, because that's what's going to happen.
Yeah. And it really boiled down to, healing yourself, or, each person healing themselves. And the more healthy a relationship is going to be, it's going to have more of the sovereign communication and more healed individuals in that relationship, evolving and growing in a more, conscious way.
It's so funny because I was just thinking of one of the questions that I had prepared for this episode, and it is, what does living life consciously mean to you personally? And I feel like you're answering it without, again, she's answering the question without us even getting a chance to ask it. But yeah, I think that living life consciously is just constantly doing your work on yourself, understanding where your triggers and your traumas come from, and then doing the shadow work around it so you can heal it and unravel it and move forward in a different attitude. And amen for, kudos to all of us for actively doing the thing.
Yeah. I want to speak to shadow work because my experience is hopefully it's not always about shadow work.
Okay.
I think as far as consciousness goes and living consciously and self-awareness and traumas and triggers, and there's so many programs and information out there to help support us in working through those. And I'm so, I think that's amazing because that's what we need. And it doesn't always have to be shadow work. And you like that?
Yes.
We get to move on to at a certain amount of shadow work, there's always going to maybe be minor shadows, but at a certain point, it just becomes just fun in the next level of consciousness, which is a fun game to me. What's the next level of consciousness? How much more aware can I be? What if I reset the intention for a relationship? What's that next one going to look like? It's like a game. And so constantly adjusting the parameters or the rules or the triggers on the game. If I push ABC together, it does this. But if I change the rules when I push ABC together, it does this. So it's this constant game of curiosity of consciousness. And it becomes, for me, and this is my hope for everyone, is that it becomes fun, that it becomes about mastery and fun and learning, and not just always stuck in the shadow work, because shadow work's hard and messy. And I think we all have to go through that a certain amount to get to the level fun or whatever. And I hope that's not where we all get stuck. I think that's a cap on our potential consciousness, if that makes sense.
I love that reflection. That was beautiful.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So I'm thinking back to camp when you did the sovereign communication presentation, and we wrote down 6 key phrases on the board that are good, like first implementation of this practice steps to use in order to like get going in it. Do you mind reviewing those with us if you can? Are you available
Yes.
to?
Yes, I am available to. Thank you for asking. Some of the really foundational language changes that will sort of force you into validation, trust, self-awareness, understanding what your triggers are, allowing for other people's sovereignty they were consent tools. Are you available for, and thanks for taking care of yourself. They were I statements instead of you statements. They were using the word and instead of but. They were using the response yes and instead of like, no, that's not it. Yes and. They were, there was the take two. I don't know if that was on there or not, but the take two is essentially just like, that's not how I actually wanted to respond. Could I get another chance at that? Because we're human, right? We're not going to get it perfect. And it's really freaking vulnerable to ask that. Number one, it takes a certain amount of self-awareness to realize that that's not how you wanted to respond. Mm-hmm. And number two, a certain amount of vulnerability to go ask someone for like a second chance to reframe. Yeah. I think we had on there the 2-to-1 feedback, which is giving
yes.
2 positives or things I liked or understood to every one, quote, negative or didn't like or didn't understand. I don't like framing in positive and negative from a channeling perspective. That doesn't exist. Spectrums, if you go high enough up in frequency, spectrums don't exist anymore. So I don't love positive and negative, but for the purpose of sharing information, 2-to-1 feedback, it disarms people and it this is a whole, I'll just stick to the list. Mm-hmm. This is what I mean by there's so much depth to why we do these things and what'll happen when you apply them. But we had boundaries on there, mm-hmm. which takes a certain amount of self-awareness to recognize what your boundaries are and why, and how to implement them, how to inform of them, how to follow through if they're not met. And we had consent. We already went over that one. Does that count off the...
I think it does. I think so, yeah. And I'm so glad that you just said that, because ever since camp, I have literally been trying to remember what all those things were. So thank you so much for
you're welcome.
Fulfilling that thought process for me. And if you don't mind, I would like to give an example of something that came to mind when you were talking about the 2-to-1 thing. I used to be a principal at a school, and we used to use that same exact practice where let's say I need to speak with, and I'm just going to make up a student's name. Let's say I need to speak with Jontea about, not doing well in class. We'll pull Jontea in for a meeting and start off with something positive. Jontea, I love how you showed up to school today. Thank you so much for wearing your uniform. We really see that you're trying to follow the rules around here, and we appreciate that. So we start off with a positive. Then we'll be like, okay, now Jontea, in class, we noticed that you're not really doing that well. You're not turning in your stuff in time. We don't want you to keep losing points for things being late. So how can we help you into getting your things turned in a better manner? And then again, we would finish with a positive so they don't leave the room feeling shitty about themselves. I'd be like, okay, and Jontea, thank you so much. I'm really looking forward to seeing you continue to help your other students, your other peers in I don't know, accomplishing their work or whatever, so just starting off with something positive so they feel good about themselves. Then you talk about the thing that needs to be worked on in a positive, reinforcing way where you're offering assistance. And then you close up with a positive. So again, like they don't feel leaving crappy about themselves. And it makes a world of difference, because if you just pull a student in, or even if I had to pull in my teachers for disciplinary type of stuff, it's better to start off with a positive than be like, okay, Miss Brenda, you haven't turned in lesson plans in a year. Like, what's the deal? We started with Miss Brenda. Thank you so much for showing up to work every day, and even though these kids are driving us all crazy, So yeah, I just wanted to speak to that, and sorry if I took the spotlight off the intentional conversation.
No, that's great.
No, I think it's all relevant. Yeah. Oh, sorry, Leslie, go ahead.
I agree. I was just saying, it was good information, and definitely, it makes me. I'm going a little way off now, but it makes me think of behavior and autism, because I have a child on the spectrum myself. So there's a lot of behavioral stuff, there's behavioral therapists and all these things, but and within school systems, the positive is what, these kids definitely need. They don't handle the criticisms or the negative input of anything very well. But I think it really just is across the board of humans and humanity overall, because we can easily be like our confidence taken, or not feel good about it. It's so important to be able to have the empowerment. I think a lot of us lose that as humans, and just throughout life feeling like you're not good enough. And
right. And
it's super important to emphasize the positive. Yeah.
No, you're absolutely right. And the opposite of like not doing that and just constantly picking on somebody's faults or pointing out the things that they're doing wrong, that can really have an impact on someone's self-esteem. And at some point, and at some point they'll just be like, because I know like my dad used to do that stuff. Like I would bring home like a 99 on a math test and he'd be like, oh, well, why didn't you get 100? And I'm like, why do you have to focus on that one freaking point I didn't earn? Why can't you just say, great job getting an A+? Like it always had to start off with a negative, and that always made me feel like crap. I'm like, why do you only see the bad things that I'm doing? Why can't you acknowledge the good things I'm doing? So anyways, yeah.
I think you hit the nail on the head when you said, why can't you see? This isn't just about sugarcoating and disarming people and opening them up so that we can pounce. Yeah. This is about human to human. I see you. And how can I support you in this other area where I also see you? Right. And I want to support you. What do you need? A lot of sovereignty is being able to identify our own needs and then figure out how to get those met while not stomping on other people's sovereignty.
I love this conversation.
Yeah, me too.
I was going to ask you, I didn't want to interrupt you earlier though, but are you available, Caschelle, for one-to-one, sovereign communication?
Yes.
Coaching?
Yes.
Coaching, yeah.
Oh, okay, good. Yeah. This would probably be a good point for me to ask you to share with your audience, if they did feel called to work with you one-on-one, where they can go to find you online. If you could drop your links, let them know what you have going on and how they can work with you.
So SmokeyLotus.com, SMOKEY Lotus.com, you'll find contact information on there. There's not an actual page for sovereign communication because my strong suit is not marketing and building. It's just showing up and teaching, right? The generators and the manifestors are the builders. And, and I'm like, but I see the whole picture. Just ask me. So SmokeyLotus.com will have phone number and email, the ways that you can get in contact with me to get different programs and coaching scheduled.
Awesome. Okay, cool. So I will have your SmokeyLotus.com website up on the screen and in the video description box below. So if you feel called to work with Caschelle on this one-on-one coaching, that would be a great place to go.
I do have on SmokeyLotus.com appropriate booking links for channeling and oracle readings, just not the sovereign communication. So it would be super easy to add one of those.
Yeah. Talk about your the stuff you make too. Sorry to interrupt, but yeah, because you make awesome products.
Yeah, for anybody out there, Caschelle does make her own oils, and I can tell you that they smell amazing. They're phenomenal. They really are. So yeah, can you speak to that?
Teach us your witchcraft or talk about your witchcraft.
Yay! Okay. I used to do hair. I had gotten a broken wrist. A client of mine recommended that I go out to a woman named Diane to help me heal it after like this cast had come off. And it turns out she was sort of like this small town witch doctor. And I ended up sort of training under her. And since I owned a hair salon the last 3 years that I owned that, I started, and in that period of time, I also had kids and I became a real crazy person about the chemicals. And that was honestly my awakening, was like, they lied to us about the milk and the nutrition. Right. And that was my awakening. And so I started making my own stuff, and then I started making it for other people. And then she passed away. So I started making it like for the community and my clients. And that's been, of all the things I do, that's been the longest standing part of my business and offerings. And I'd like to say that I know a ton of science behind it. I do know some, and it's all very intuitive for me. Oils like zoom out to me or speak to me, or I channel the plant. Sometimes I feel inferior, if I'm being honest, because some people are good at growing stuff and they know how it grows and they can identify a lot of plants. And there are other people who distill all the plants, and there are other people who know the constituents of all the oils, the percentages of makeup that make it what it is. And while I know a little bit about all of that, I know a lot about how to intuit them. And so like the blends you were talking about smell really good. I can't even really take, maybe my higher self did it, but Caschelle can't even really take full credit for those. They like zoomed out. They like, they like show themselves to me and speak to me. And I go, okay, I'll mix this together. They literally told me what to name them. And so I did. Yeah. And so what I can do, though, is channel, and I can figure out how a plant grows. Like I can see the environment of where a plant grows and why that makes it good for this. So like if sandalwood grows in a dry environment, I had channeled for someone, there's too much mucus. So I do medical intuitive channeling as well. And sandalwood would be helpful for that because it's drying. But why is it drying? It grows in a dry environment. It has these whatever. I could see how like valerian that I know because I've learned from knowledge that valerian can regulate the nervous system. It can be kind of a sedative. But when I channeled about valerian, I saw how it grew in really straight stalks, if you will. I'm paraphrasing because I'm not channeling right now. And how that our energy line mirrors that when we use valerian, and instead of being scattered and really fast, it straightens out. So it's all pretty intuitive. I have a knowledge base, and it's all pretty intuitive for me.
So what did it name itself? Your business or whatever?
Oh, well, that actually named itself too. That was Smokey Lotus. I have had a identity crisis with business for many years. And I was like, after I learned to channel, I was like, why don't I just channel about what my business is called? So I did.
Cool.
So
the oils, then you have a separate name for that, then I guess. What is that?
Well, there's like 14 blends. So they each have
each
a
name.
name.
Okay. Because I just thought of intuitive oils. Like, I feel like that would just be like a great name.
There's ones for different reasons. And then there's the medicinal line. So I've recently started wholesaling to massage therapists, chiropractors, holistic estheticians, therapists. I have counselors who use it with their EMDR. So that's a new business model, that I recently started so there's a medicinal line, pain, headaches, very physical. But of course, when you're dealing with plants, it's never just physical. Without even knowing it, you accidentally treat all the bodies. But they're geared towards, this one is geared towards the physical body. You just won't know that you're kind of like, bonus, you also treated your energy body. And then some are geared very much towards the energy body, but also bonus, it helped your low back pain. So it's very interwoven.
Yeah, that's a good way to say it. Yeah. I have a question, and I'm not sure if I even know how to verbalize it correctly, but essentially I'm wondering, like, do you channel like large batches, like just in general, or do you meet with someone one-on-one and then channel something just specifically for them, or do you do it in both ways? Like, do you do it in large batches just in general without anybody specific attached?
Yes, both ways. Both things are true.
Okay.
So if you go to Smokey Lotus, what you're going to see are things I've channeled in general without any individual attached to them. And learned, a lot of the medicinal stuff I learned from my mentor who I had mentioned, Diane. She was very matter of fact and straightforward, and she treated a lot of people's dis-ease in the physical body. So a lot of the medicinal line I learned from her, but all those blends are channeled, and that's not geared towards any one person specifically. And I used to have a channeling service that came with, I channel a blend for you, why it's good for you, then I make it and mail it to you. That's a lot of work because I have to price it. I have to print a brand new label for it. I have to do the recipe for it. That's I need to get paid a lot more than I was getting paid to channel individual blends for people, and I have done it. It's a whole process.
That's great.
It's a whole process of it's creating an entire new product and recipeing it and pricing it, labeling it. And so I don't do it so much anymore. And I do love doing it. And if that comes through in people's channelings, I don't stop anything from coming through. If you sign up for a psychic session and it turns into a medical intuitive session, I'm not going to interrupt that flow. If a specific oil comes through, and the channeling, we didn't know. We're like, okay, well, what tools are good for your anxiety? And it's like breath work, yoga, and an essential oil. I'm not going to stop any kind of flow. Creating it and mailing it, though, that was like a whole nother business.
Yeah.
So yes to both.
Okay.
Very excellent answer. Thank you. What's your like top 3 selling things? Your top 3 selling products, would you say?
Top 3 selling products are really going to be all in the medicinal line. So there's a 3 product line. Within the medicinal line, there's a product line called 3 C's, which is cough, cold, and congestion. That contains 3 products, one for immunity, killing it and preventing it, one for cleaning the air and helping like breathing and open up, and then a balm for, and there's a multitude of uses. If you go there, you'll actually see about 7 different uses for that blend. So it includes instructions, and then a balm for like chest rub and feet if you're already sick. So the 3 C's, cough, cold, and congestion.
Okay.
The warming and cooling CBD balms are going to be another one of the best sellers. And a third, top 3, the green salve, because it heals everything.
Nice. Awesome.
It's like bumps, bruises, bites, scrapes, burns. So good for burns. So yeah, it's interesting too, because where I started was with that medicinal stuff, and it continues today to be that medicinal stuff is the top selling stuff.
Love it.
I keep to put you on the spot.
Nope.
Oh, look at the cat. But I'm curious if you would be interested in doing a channeling for the audience, and if anything comes through. So you can totally say no. Are you available to do that? Obviously.
Yeah.
Yeah. We would love that.
Okay, great.
Is there anything specific that we want to look at?
I think it would be safe to just ask about, because this is something that we typically ask our channelers, is what can we be doing right now in our daily lives to like aid in the ascension process? How can we help ourselves? How can we help Gaia? What can we do to best serve all humanities for the highest creative good of all? That's what I want to know.
Okay. So what can we do as individuals for serving the higher purpose of ascension for all of humanity? Okay.
Yeah. Thank you.
Wow, I'm getting like a really pleasurable feeling in my lower chakras. So I think that's interesting. I'm sure this is going to have something to do with that.
Okay.
If we looked at this tomorrow and the next day and the next day, we would probably receive, if not a completely different answer, it would be worded differently. So for whoever's going to see this is why it's coming through. Know that you're safe. Know that you could never have been unsafe. Know that the human experience in and of itself is safe. Now, some of us have been put into unsafe situations, but when you zoom out, somehow, and this is hard for some people to hear, somehow that has suited your soul contract or your purpose or the wheel of karma that you've entered, and how we get out of that and unravel that. Now, know that the wheel of karma won't always be a thing. It's actually not real, but it is sort of the program that we're in right now. And until we're completely out of that, right, we're going to keep playing that out. But ascension means exiting the wheel of karma. And so if we can zoom out far enough, we can actually see from a higher perspective, from a bigger, wider picture, that we're actually all completely safe to be in the human body, having the human experience, because ultimately there can be no harm. Ultimately, there can be no harm. No one can take from your soul. No one can take from your higher self. Now, while the human experience has a lot of power games where actually give and take is a pretty prominent program, it's not actually real from a high enough perspective. So when we get really zoomed in and really focused, focal points, we go from big picture to small constricted, smaller constricted, smaller constricted picture. And all we can see is this one point. And that feels very unsafe because there's only one way. There's only one right way. everything else is wrong, that means a lot of unsafety, right? If only one person can be right and everyone else is wrong, then we're completely unsafe to operate in a world of wrongness. When we zoom out far enough, there is actually no right and wrong, and it's not possible to be unsafe from the soul level. It's only in this human experience that we're playing this give and take game. And if we could zoom out and focus more on that, we could get out of the very base level of safety. Ascension happens at the level of creativity, at the level of options. Now, ascension happens at the level of safety because moving from safety to creativity is an ascension process in and of itself, right? What I'm seeing, though, is that it's like that's the pretty human level of ascension. And when we, again, zoom out and we see ourselves not just as humans, but as soul beings who just happen to be in a human, dense earth realm right now, it all becomes actually sort of a joke. It becomes funny, right? It's not so serious. And this is not meant, please know, I'm hearing very clear, please know, we would never belittle your human experiences and your pain and your trauma. We would never do that. We just want you to know that there are levels beyond that. This isn't the end all be all. Everything is temporary, and you can actually access levels of safety by remembering that and zooming out, where it all, again, becomes less life or death. In fact, death is part of the ascension process. Ultimately, ultimate unsafety, and this is gonna wrap up, but ultimate unsafety is the fact that we'll all die. Death is a part of the ascension process. Death is beyond the human experience, which means it's less dense than the human experience, right? So even if you don't go all the way back up to source and you have to come back to earth, you've still ascended to a higher level than 3D human body. That's a different topic. So it's let me see if there's like one sort of like in conclusion sentence that can be brought through here.
Sure, thank you.
You're never unsafe because you're never alone, and you're never limited to this human body and this human experience. And when you can realize that and zoom out from that enough and connect into that, you'll start to realize this concept.
Thank you.
Beautiful.
So much. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, it makes me think of my I don't know if motto is the right word, but I used to always say everything's going to be okay. I guess it was an affirmation I would do, is everything's okay. Everything is going to be okay. You know, it's all okay. And that really stems from my understanding and learning through near-death experiences and other things that we are spiritual beings having a temporary human experience, you know, and that, yeah, death is part of ascension, but it's also just our spirits leaving this dense environment and, you know, going back to, you know, what we truly are, which is souls, spirit, safety.
Yeah, I really appreciated. Oh, sorry. Go right ahead. Go ahead.
No, go ahead. I just feel like I'm hearing like that conclusion sentence, and I feel pretty compelled to say it. It's like you're never so limited and bound as the human experience would have you believe.
Okay,
that's good.
Yeah.
I love this channeling message because it's empowering people and it's anti-fear mongering. It's giving you the permission to know that, like, no matter what happens, ultimately you're safe. And, you know, because we're programmed with fear. It's everywhere. It's how they make you do everything, is they make you afraid, right? Constantly keeping you afraid. And having people in fear is the easiest way to control them. So I love that you're giving the power back to the individual, saying, no, like, you are okay. You have your own sovereign strength. Tap into it and utilize it.
And we have infinite choices, you know?
Yeah. If this were a one-on-one channeling, the next probably thing that we would look at is like, as an individual, how then can you establish and come into your own safety? It's not enough just to tell people, be safe, know that you're safe. Like, right. Some of us will that will be enough for some of us, but some of us need very direct application. Well, how do I do that? Okay, cool. I want to be safe. How?
Yeah.
Right. And that's going to be a bit of a different answer for everybody. So in a one-on-one session, that's where I have said I'm so good at channeling very applicable techniques for each individual, right from your higher self. That's where that would have went in a one-on-one session.
Perfect. So if you want your own personalized, customized instructions on how to utilize that, SmokeyLotus.com.
Yes.
Okay, clear your head for just a moment because we're going to ask you Justin's famous question, and it's a doozy. Clear your head. Woosah.
Oh, cry.
Okay, go ahead. It's not bad. It's just big.
And let me know when you're available.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. Let's go.
Okay. Caschelle, what is your greatest hope for the future of humanity?
To not be human ever again.
Oh.
Okay.
Fair enough. This is a wild ride, so I can see why you'd say that.
Yeah. I think if I were to expand on that, it's oneness consciousness, to me, inhabits so much light that either where we're going is that the human body, this is what I've seen, right? I can never know, that the human body, through the process of ascension over and over and over, lifetime after lifetime, learns and adapts to be able to hold so much light, because lights can be painful to the body, right? We're not built actually for holding a super high frequency of light. And if we were, we'd blow up, because that's what happens when you put lasers on stuff.
Right.
And so when I say never to be human again, I think it's possible that through ascension and evolution, we eventually can be in a human body and hold that much light. Prior to that happening, that much light is not being human again.
Gotcha.
So it's either to stop being human and get out of the wheel of karma and not do it anymore, or to ascend to such a level that we've learned to carry that level of light within the human body, and the human experience is no longer karmic. It's no longer painful. It's no longer separate. And we still get to walk in human bodies. That could be pretty cool.
Yeah.
That's likely what's going to happen. Basically, I mean, from my understanding, from different information everywhere, I mean, we're just evolving. And so there will be another human species probably that comes out of that.
Which would be that's the thing that hasn't been done.
Yeah. Anyway, yeah, it was awesome talking to you, Caschelle. And the channel that you sent through was just perfect. So thank you.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thanks for asking for me to channel on camera, because I love that request.
Oh, good. We love that. You love that.
Yeah.
Is there any last pieces of advice or things that anybody would like to share before we close out?
I just want to say thank you for the invitation and for showing up to do the things that you guys are good and gifted at doing. And I love being invited to be a part of it. So thanks for being super cool humans.
Oh, thank you too. We literally look forward and love doing this. So thank you for offering or accepting our invitation and offering all these beautiful pieces of wisdom to us personally at camp, the yoga. Thank you so much. All that stuff. Loved it. Yeah. And thank you for sharing all of this wisdom with our audience and for reiterating those 6 things that I've been trying to remember really hard since we left camp. So thank you so much. Thank you, Justin, for being here. Thank you, Leslie. And for our audience that's here, thank you guys as well. Please do us a favor and smash that like button, click subscribe, ring our little notification bell, drop a lovely comment down below, and share this video with your family and friends to help us spread the good word. Okay, Caschelle, we do a little 3-piece closer. I'll demonstrate it for you. And then if you're available to join us as we do it together, you are more than welcome. We do much love, peace, and namaste. Are you available to join us? We'll do it together. But yes, those are the 3
I'm practicing. Yeah.
Okay. All right, here we go. Much love.
Love.
Peace. And namaste.